Again, my name is Lance Lacombe. This is Brian Holshar, Director of Engineering. I head up our Public Affairs operations. Last time we were here, which is, I believe, beginning of October, was our second or third visit out here, and we talked about potential solutions, things that we're doing to identify what exactly was happening with the creek, the movement of the creek, understanding why the erosion was happening, where the creek was trying to go. Talked about the funding limitations that we had. One of the big issues at the time was we had a rate proposal before our rate commission, and it was about stormwater, raising stormwater funds that would in part address issues like this. Since that time, our rate commission, our board of trustees, has approved a stormwater rate. We do have a stormwater rate in place now. On your MSD bills, you should have seen that. It's called an impervious rate, which is being based on the amount of impervious area you have in your property, which is area that doesn't soak up rainwater. Forget all about that, it doesn't matter here, but we're raising those monies now. There's going to be one more board vote on a different rate proposal that we took to our rate commission earlier this year. Really has no effect if it is approved by our board. It's just a different way of implementing the funding. Again, really has no effect on what we're here to talk about today. The important thing is that we do have a rate in place. There's a couple things at the end of our conversation I do want to talk about the legalities of that, which could present some hiccups to what we're doing here. But right now we have a pretty good feeling of what we want to do, what needs to be done. We've done a lot of investigative work. We've taken soil samples. We've done surveying to establish where everything is. MSD, this is not, internally, this isn't our specialty. So we brought in consultants, others outside who specialize in this type of work. They've been doing a lot of analysis of this. Initially, when we came to you, we had hypothesized that the solution was going to be to buy out several homes and then to cut the property back. Based on what our consultant and we identified in the investigation work that we did, and based on the expertise of our consultants, that work we will not be doing buyouts. There's actually a work that we can do to cut down on the energy of the water that's coming down the creek and which is causing the erosion. We can go ahead and restore some of the land and put in the biostabilization, and then have it be a fix that's not presenting a problem elsewhere. And because of what I know you've seen up at Vance Road as well, we're going to take a look at that and include that in our design work. And we're going to work with the county and getting all that internal stuff between us fixed out in terms of who pays for what, who does what. But the fix is going to be more comprehensive than what we had talked about before, because since then the damage has been done to Vance Road. So I am not an engineer. I'll quit trying to act like one. I'll turn over to Brian Holshar, our Director of Engineering, and he can explain a little bit more about what we've learned, what we believe the solution is today, what we're going to do in the short term, and then what we're going to do in the long term, what the timeline for the design and the construction might be. And I'll come back and revisit the question of the funding and just a few of the potential issues that I alluded to earlier. Brian?
Okay. I'll go in the past for just a little bit, and that has to do with what we found out in the investigation. Probably the biggest thing we found out is that, is anybody here an engineer? Okay, and that's fine, it's okay, because I'm not really either, I'm a manager. So, one of the things when we dug the holes, when we poked the holes in the ground, is we found out what kind of soils are through here. We were having a discussion out with somebody, I can't remember who it was out there. There's a lot of mostly clays in St. Louis, except for up north around the Missouri River. And we suspected that there were those kind of soils here. Well, you don't have that here. When we poked the holes and went down, you have something that's called loess soil. And what that is back eons ago, it was a wind-blown dust that just accumulated and built up, silt. It's not a natural clay, it's not anything like that. And one of the characteristics of loess is that it likes to stand up in vertical walls, which I think all of you probably know now that that's what it likes to do, is just stand straight up and down. When we first investigated this, usually clays won't like to do that. They will fail, they'll slough off, the slope, they'll try to get a sloped feature. And that's what we thought we were probably dealing with, even though we could see a little bit of loess up here on the top. Well, investigation, it's all that way. So that's why you see it do what it does. It tries to stand up straight, and as soon as a little bit of the toe gets cut off, whatever is under that toe just falls off into the creek. That has some importance with what the solution will be. And I think the best way to describe the solution is I'm going to go through a schedule and tell you everything that's going to happen and what it will look like. Right now, we went to our program management committee, it's a subcommittee of the board, and told them that because of the rains we've had recently, our plan to actually go through our normal process of hiring an engineer and doing like that. We didn't think that that was the right thing to do. We didn't know how much time we had because of the rains we had the last 6 months. They let us use our stormwater planner, who has expertise in this area, to immediately design a temporary fix and a permanent fix. And so what's going on right now is the easy part is putting together a set of drawings so we can bid out for a temporary fix. And that temporary fix is going to consist of taking material that's in the creek now, pushing it up against the toe of the slope, both on Vance Road and along here, and then taking some large rock and placing it on near the toe to protect the toe of that channel. It can take water hitting it on the side. We need to protect the toe. So that's the immediate thing we're looking to do. We're putting together a set of drawings. We have cleared with the Corps. They're going to do an accelerated 10-day approval process with a permit to allow us to get in the creek, do this work. There are floodplain issues. The county's going to accelerate their floodplain review as well. And so the temporary fix, we suspect that sometime in the first half of June we will have a contractor out here who will be in the creek pushing all the material it can up against the toe of the slope or toe of the wall and then covering it with large rock in order to prevent the energy. That's not the permanent fix, it's a temporary fix. And that includes Advance Road. They'll also do it up Advance Road as a fix. The one thing that will happen with that is to get down into the creek, we're going to cut an access road to the common ground that goes right through here. So we're going to have to get with the trustees, and we will have to get with some property owners prior to doing that. One, we have to get approval from those regulatory agencies to do that. And two, we're going to have to get what's called a temporary construction license. The district has no rights to be on this property unless we get it from either the trustees or the residents. And we'll come prior to this work starting, we're going to have to get what's called a temporary construction license. It's not a permanent burden on your property, just gives us the temporary right to go in and do this fix, and then when we're done, it goes away.
That's a question, what you had described is what they actually did several years ago to try to fix it. Was that 10 years ago, whatever?
What they did for the temporary fix?
Well, yeah, temporary.
Well, okay.
And they went in actually up where your hand is, so they kind of near the next subdivision up, and there may have been like a slope that was easier to get through, and I didn't know if that would avoid any cutting through the forest.
Looking at the site, part of this has to do, and I'm not sure exactly how, why, or under what circumstances they did that, keeping in mind what our permanent fix has got to be, because this temporary ramp will stay through the permanent fix.
Gotcha.
And so we've tried to place it where it will accommodate both the temporary fix as well as our permanent fix.
Yeah, and key to that is because you've seen what the creek can do.
Right.
We need to get equipment in and out every day. We can't leave it in there overnight, and there could be something where we'd have to evacuate immediately.
Quickly, yeah.
And want to be able to have that quick ingress and egress.
Kind of, and as a side point, that's not really the big important part. Once we cut it and once we get the big job done, what happens with that ramp? That's a discussion we have with the trustees. We can make it go away, or we can leave it. It becomes an access down to the, hopefully what becomes a feature instead of a threat to everybody to get down to the creek. That's kind of the last
ramp. That's bad.
that's kind of the last thing we're worrying about. Yeah. But that's a temporary fix. We plan on having a contractor out here in the first half of June to do that. That'll put the temporary fix in place. And we'll keep working on the permanent fix. We'd like to have a contract for the permanent fix by this fall. And we will very, very quickly go through and do it. It's in the range of $2 to $3 million to fix everything.